So hello, everybody. Hope you all had a good day. My name is Haley. I am a nutrition educator with SNAP Ed New York, Cornell Cooperative Extension. We also have hosting with me today, we have Amy. Amy, if you want to say hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Bly, also a nutrition educator with SNAP Ed Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to get started. Today we're going to talk about some quick, delicious, and healthy meals and some tips and tricks really to choose healthier meals a little bit easier and healthier snacks and things. So what we're going to do is in this presentation, we're going to go over choosing and making foods that are tasty and also healthy, because of course we want our food to taste good so we continue to eat it. And we're also going to look at the new food label. So you may have noticed over the past couple weeks or months that the nutrition labels have started to look a little bit different. So we're going to talk about some of those changes. And we're also going to go over a little bit on the labels and a recipe of a quick meal and some snack ideas to also keep us healthy.
And I just want to mention to everyone that throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you can chat them in. I'm going to be fielding the chat function. I'm going to chat in right now both my email and Haley's email if at any point anyone has any other questions or anything like that. So you have that contact information now in the chat box. But like I said, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can chat them in and I will be reading them.
Thank you. Okay, so first we're going to start by going over this really good 10 tips sheet. So there's a ton of these available to you with different topics, and I'm going to show you where to access those later. But this one we really like because it's really all about building a healthy meal. So Amy is going to start by kind of guiding us through this.
Okay, so I did just chat in the web link for the 10 tips if anybody is interested in checking out any other ones on other topics. But tonight we have a nice 10 tip on building a healthy meal. That's what our topic is for tonight. So what I want everyone to do is just to take a minute and kind of look it over, read some of the tips, and then I'm actually going to ask for a few volunteers. If you're brave enough to unmute yourself and talk to the group. If not, you can chat it in and I will read it out to everyone. So just take a minute now, look it over, and then I'm going to ask for my first volunteer. Okay, so at this point, I hope everyone has had a chance to at least glance over most of the tips. Do I have a brave volunteer who would like to share one of the tips that they would potentially like to try in their own home and their own life? Again, you can unmute yourself and talk if you want to. If not, you can type something in the chat box and I will read it aloud. Okay, so we have try new foods with my children. So that is tip number 8. It's a really nice tip. I also really like that one too. You want to spice it up, right, a little bit, because if you eat the same thing all the time, it could get a little boring. The tip itself is saying, like, if you've never tried like different kinds of fruits like mango or lentils, which is a great source of protein, you know, try to switch it up and try some of those things. Okay, so I'm going to ask for my second volunteer now. My second volunteer, I would like you to take a look at the tip sheet and find something on here that you would like to try, but that may or may not be kind of a challenge for you. Something that like looks interesting. Okay, wonderful. We have in the chat box, I would like to try more dairy, being that I'm lactose intolerant, but I have never tried soy. Okay. I'd like to start buying low-fat dairy, but it may not work for my family. Okay, yeah, that's all about like tip number 3 and also a little bit of tip number 8, right? About trying new foods. And number 3 was don't forget the dairy. So yeah, at the bottom of tip number 3, it does say you don't drink milk, try a soy beverage. Okay, thank you for sharing. And last but not least, I'm going to ask for one volunteer to share something, one of the tips that they're already kind of doing successfully in their own home, in their own life.
I think I'm looking at number 5. Like we were using a lot of fat, like a lot of butter, even on vegetables and things. And I'm kind of switching towards, just some seasoning and trying to look more into healthy fats.
Okay, yes, thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. Yeah, so we were referring to tip number 5, avoiding extra fat. So it's saying like instead of using heavy gravies and sauces, like you had mentioned, maybe just using some herbs and spices to seasoning things. And then we have some more in the chat box. We have eating more lean protein. That's fantastic. So number 4, eating more lean protein. So things like chicken and fish, if you're trying to incorporate them more, that would be wonderful. Okay, we have more. So I am adding veggies into my regular foods like pasta and rice. That's awesome. Yeah, so tip number 1, make half your plate fruits and veggies. So if it's a meal that like you already like and it would be something you're typically eating, just throw some extra vegetables in there and it makes it a little bit better. I'm eating more vegetables with no fat. Wonderful. We also have, I have a salad and a vegetable with my meals to do number 1. Okay, so tip number 1, people are trying that. That's awesome. We have, I'm trying new recipes. So again, number 8 and even number 6 a little bit, right? Get creative in the kitchen. All right, everyone, thank you so much for sharing and contributing. So we're gonna move on. Like I said, the link for, can we email the tip sheet? Yeah, sure. We can, if you want to, at the end, everyone's going to have a chance to chat in their email addresses. So we can definitely send the tip sheet out after the session is over. That was a great question. We'd be happy to do that.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go over a little bit the new food labels. So I want you to first take a look. I have here a side-by-side comparison of the original label that we've been used to and the new label with the changes. So there are actually 8 changes on here. Some of them are more visual than others, but see how many of them you can find. And if you find one, again, feel free to throw it into the chat box. And help everybody else find those. Some of them, again, more visual than others. But let's see if you can find all those differences, like those pictures that we used to compare in the books of, can you see the difference? So I'm just gonna leave this up for maybe like 30 seconds to a minute, and then we're gonna go over it.
So we have added sugars in the chat box. Ooh, vitamin D is new.
Good, a lot of the vitamins, some of the visual things. Good, so we're gonna go over it. So I have here, right, this original label that we just saw, and then a little bit more of an explanation, right, of the new food label. So I'm just gonna go kind of top to bottom a little bit. So I'll kind of try to guide you as best as I can through it. So the first thing, right, we see on the top, the serving size is larger. So we can see better the difference between the servings per container, which is how much is in the entire packaging, versus the serving size, which is how much we should be having at that one serving, at that one sitting, right? So that serving size has also been updated based on the new requirements for what our bodies need, right? Our nutrition requirements kind of change every so often. So those have been updated as well to reflect that. The calories are much larger, right? Much easier to find than they were before. The calories is often one of the first things that people go to look for when choosing an item. So the calories have become much, much larger to make that stand out a little bit more and become more aware of the calories in our products. The updated daily values, right, again, goes back to our updated nutrition requirements, right, that have come in for what our bodies need. So those, not really so much of a visual change, but those you might notice some different percentages between like a product that you used to use and the newest label on that same product. Those might vary a little bit. We've also have included the added sugars, right? So you're gonna start seeing that there's the total sugars and the added sugars. So the total sugars, right, is how much is in the entire thing, the total amount of sugar. And the added sugars breaks down so you can see the difference of the total versus how much was just added in to it. So when you have, say, like a snack food or something, you might see that the added sugars is almost all of the total sugars, and that means that more of them are added than going to be natural, right? If we have more natural sugars, the added sugars wouldn't be as high. We also have again, the bottom is more changes in our nutrition requirements. So you might, if you compare like an old label to a new label, the same product that you have, you might see some differences there of one, which vitamins and minerals are listed, and two, the actual amounts of them, the percentages and the actual amounts that are in the product themselves. And that footnote has been added and slightly changed a little bit, right? So you're gonna start seeing this more and more. Try to look for it maybe next time you go food shopping, or try to maybe check out a couple things you have in your pantry at home and see the differences there. So another thing that's really great to look at are these words that we see on the front of our packages very often, right? We see like maybe a box of crackers or cereal or something else that we're seeing, and maybe there's a diet version or a low-calorie version, right? So these actually, while some of them can be very tricky, they do actually have meanings behind them, right? So diet is a food that's either that's lower calorie or reduced calorie from its original version, right? So that means it's going to have less calories in it. Whereas low calorie is going to be under 40 calories per serving. So a food that has less than 40 calories per serving is allowed to put on the front of the label to claim low calorie. Where reduced calorie, where it says that it contains 25% fewer calories than its original version. So you might see the word diet and reduced calorie, right? So where low calorie is under 40 grams, reduced calorie is 25% less than the original, right? So these are good to use when you're maybe trying to buy a new product or reduce, cut out something, make some of those changes that we talked about from the 10 tips, right? These might be some good keywords, like, oh, this might be a good product. I'm going to check it out and then look at the nutrition facts label, right? We always want to make sure that we're looking at the back to make sure we understand what's written on the front. We have fat-free, right? Which is 0.5 grams fat or less, right? So there still might be that tiny little fat in there, but it's less than a gram, right? So that's the most that's going to be in there. Anything over that would not be allowed to have the fat-free claim on it. Whereas low fat is 3 grams or less. So again, those are some tricky differences that you might see on the label. So if someone has a question about either of these, I'll kind of go through each one a little bit as I am, but again, you can throw those into the chat. So calorie free, this one's interesting because this one can actually contain up to 5 calories, right? So It's just one of those requirements where on the label they're allowed to claim it's calorie free, but it can have actually up to 5 calories on it. Sugar free, right, can have up to about 0.5 gram of sugar in it. Excellent source and good source, those are also really good. Very common to see on like whole grain products, right, where one might be an excellent source of fiber, where one might be a good source of fiber, right? So those are some tricky differences. Excellent provides at least 20% of the daily value, so obviously that's gonna be really good. We're a good, whoop, that didn't change on me. There we go. We're a good source, right, will be 10 to 19%. So that's a little bit of a difference there. Both great options, right? But it kind of gives you that keyword on the front that it's, oh, this is a good option. Let me check out the label on the back. Healthy, right, is allowed only on food items which are low in fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, and sodium, right? So this one gets a little bit tricky. You always want to make sure that it's healthy for what you're looking for. And light, right, is going to provide fewer calories, fewer sugar, fewer fat than the original product, right? So these are all really good popular words that you can think that you are common to see. So now, as you got a preview of before, we're going to show you a little video. It's very short. It's a quick recipe that kind of takes a lot of these changes into account. So see if you can pick up on some of these healthier changes within the video.
Hi, I'm Chef Amy, and today I'm making a rich and creamy pasta dish that's surprisingly healthy. It'll impress all of your friends at a dinner party, but your kids will love it too. It's like macaroni and cheese got a makeover. First, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Bring 2 pots of water to a boil. To one, add 3 cups of whole wheat pasta. Cook for 8 to 10 minutes or until it's slightly tender. It'll still cook a little bit more when we put it in the oven. To the other, add 2 cups of broccoli and cook for about 5 minutes. You can use frozen broccoli instead. Just follow the instructions on the package for cooking time. When the pasta and the broccoli are done cooking, drain them both and toss them each with a ½ teaspoon of granulated garlic or about a ¼ teaspoon of garlic powder. In a casserole dish coated with cooking spray, combine the pasta, the broccoli, and a cup of pre-cooked chicken and mix well. Then, in a mixing bowl, combine fat-free half and half and a tablespoon of flour. Use a whisk or fork to break up any lumps. Now, heat a skillet to medium-high. Then mix together the low-sodium chicken broth, salt, and pepper, and another cup of fat-free half and half. Now stir in the flour and half mixture and bring it to a boil. Reduce the heat to low and continue stirring for about 5 minutes as the sauce thickens. Add a ½ cup each of shredded, low-fat mozzarella and cheddar cheese and stir until they melt. Remove the sauce from the heat and pour it over the pasta. Now, cover and place in a preheated oven for about 5 minutes. Now we're done baking. See how delicious this looks, and it smells great too. This recipe and many more are available on USDA's What's Cooking website. Enjoy!
Awesome. All right, so we're just gonna bring this right back. Okay, so what do we think of that recipe? Get some thumbs up, not so sure, like to try it. Right, I think it looks like a great option, right? For let's get some pasta. Everybody loves a nice pasta dish, right? But without all of the heaviness of heavy creams and things that we're really used to in there. Right, so we have a little game, right, to kind of go over some of the things that we've talked about. So we have a couple of questions. When you have your answer, you can throw it into the chat box, right? So the first one we have is, which of the following items must be included on a food label, right? So we looked at the food label before. The nutrition facts, is it the total number of servings, the total calories from fat, or all of them? So you guys can, I'll give you a second to come up with your answer and throw which answer you have into the chat. Awesome, good. We have a lot of D's, all of the above, right? So all of those things are required to be on the food label. Good. So the second question, which of the following is a change on the new food label? There they are. The servings are larger and bold. Right? The calories are enlarged. The new added sugars, or D, all of the above. So same thing, throw your answer in the box, and we'll see what we all come up with. Good, getting a lot of D, all the above. So we're good. We remember what our new label looks like. The servings are larger, the calories are larger, and the new added sugars is a really great addition to that as well. And our last question, how did Chef Amy make the chick penne healthy? Did she use fresh or frozen broccoli? Was it the low-fat cheese, the whole wheat pasta, or a combination of all of them? Good, awesome. Yeah, we're getting some use to that here. We have D, all of the above, right? So by adding in broccoli into pasta, which is something new for a lot of people, it's a really great way to add in vegetables without just having a side of boring vegetables, right? Just mix it into your food, get all those flavors in there, and that's really great. Low-fat cheese, a very simple change from whole-fat cheese to low-fat cheese, to cut some fat out, and the whole wheat pasta is going to give us a lot more fiber than our regular pasta. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your answers. So at this time, if you have any questions, you can, we're not too many, so we're a good group, but we can unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question, or again, you can throw it in the chat and Amy will get it out there for you. So we'll just leave this up for a minute. If anybody has any questions, going back to the nutrition facts label or anything like else you want to know about that you might have a question on regarding your nutrition, making healthy habits, healthy changes, feel free to ask questions if you like.
I also, just so everyone knows, if anybody is interested in getting a copy of the recipe that we saw in the video, if you'd like to try it at home, I did chat that link in. We do have a question. Is there a website that you have where we can get more information? Yes, so I was actually just going to, in a minute or so, chat them in, but I just chatted in the links to our Facebook page as well as our web page through Cornell Cooperative Extension. We have lots of other information on there. We've been posting tips and a bunch of things daily on the Facebook, so be sure to check that out. Do you offer lessons in Spanish? Yes, we have multiple bilingual educators, so we do have that offering, which is really nice. And those 10 tips that we brought up, they are also available in Spanish. Yeah, sure. So Carol, thank you for your email. I will get the tip sheet over to you as well as all the links. If anyone else is interested in the links or the 10 tip sheet, just chat that in. And here we are, a nice slide on that. So
yeah, so if you want more information or you want these resources emailed directly to you, you can put your chat in, you can put your email in the chat box, or if you don't want to send it to everybody, what you can do is in the chat box where it says to, you can select to send it to just the host and only I'll be able to see it if you don't want everybody to have your email. So that's something that you can do as well. So you can throw your name and your email.
That's very funky. your voice went funky.
Oh, sorry.
It still is.
So again, here are a lot of the links. We'll send these. We'll send these out to everybody. If you want to put your email in, we'll get those out to you later today. So we'll email the tips, all the links, and anything other information that we had talked about already.
Apparently, Haley is having some technical difficulties, so I hope my voice is coming through better. So I don't know if everybody caught that or not. Like she said, so, okay, good, I am clear. Thank you, Carol. These are the links that I shared in the chat as well for our Facebook, our CCE pages. That's the link for the 10 tips if you want to go on there and check out some additional ones on other topics. They have a whole plethora of topics in English and Spanish. Also, that is our state SNAP Ed website if you're interested in taking a look at that. And if we have no other questions, we're pretty much wrapped up for tonight. If anybody else wants any further information specifically from this presentation, you can chat in your email address and we will email you the resources. If not, be sure to check out these links to our Facebook and our website. And hopefully you join us for some of the other topics we have scheduled. So we're gonna hang on for a couple minutes. If anybody, like I said, has any additional questions, they want to chat in, or they're just interested in more information, either unmute yourself or chat in. If not, we are wrapped up for tonight. And again, we just both want to say thank you so much for joining us. We hope that it was educational and somewhat fun, at least for you guys. And if you've not had dinner, enjoy your dinner.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you. I don't know if anybody can hear me.
Your voice is still really muffled.
It's so weird. I wasn't sure if like the internet went out or what, but my other computer's on. I don't know. Amy, were you able to save that chat so we can get those emails out?